So I want you to get your yoga block or your book and a chair. We're just going to stand on the yoga block, just to lift ourselves up off the floor, and just start with a gentle swing. So as much as possible when you're doing this, you're just trying to relax the leg. You don't want the quads too dominant in this. So think of a pendulum that's swinging, and really sort of think about how it feels in the hip. So we're going to focus on all the muscles in the pelvis and around the hip today. I always forget to say when I'm doing this that your standing foot wants to be slightly turned towards the chair in sort of a first position. Otherwise, you're going to get pretty tired in the leg quite quickly. Okay, so that's hip flexors at the front. As you do this one, let your chest start to pop forward, and just make sure your back's okay with that. So if you're hypermobile in your spine, you just got to be careful that you don't go too far back. So then go inwards and outwards, inner thigh, outer thigh. Keep your standing knees soft. That's good. Don't have to do too many. Even just a couple of seconds, this makes a difference. Diagonal line. So the diagonal line is especially your psoas. So if you put your hand at the front of your body, thumb at the ribs and fingers down below the belly button, your psoas is running all through your lumbar spine. So just try and get your chest to gently move forward. And if you're happy with this, if your spine's okay with this, you could take the arm up on the same side as the leg that's swinging. And you could also slightly turn towards your chair. So you're arching your spine, and you'll notice there's a good stretch in the front of the spine. Okay, and just bring the arm down. So just come off for a minute and just do a few little knee bends and just give that standing leg a rest. A few ponies. So come back to the yoga block. And a really nice movement for the SI joints, is one of my favorites anyway, is to come into that half turn, big toe turn towards the chair, is to do a knee circle. So as you do this, it's really moving the two bones of your pelvis around, especially on the knee side. A good amount of ab work in there as well. Stretches your glutes. And then go the other way. So if you wake up feeling a bit light, tight and locked up, then this is always a good one to try. And like I say, you can really feel you're working as well. It's not a passive exercise. And then just come off again and just do a few little knee bends. A few ponies. The final one, I want you to stand on the block. Stand on the other foot. So you think about your pelvis now, it's at an angle. You're going to just hike that hip up towards your shoulder and come back down. So your pelvis is doing this. So you're lifting this hip, ASIS, up to the shoulder. So what that does is it works your bottom on this side and it rolls the pelvis over the top of the head of the femur. So it's stretching your hip, strengthening your glutes, just stretching the lumbar sacral fascia. So if you've got SI joint dysfunction, there's usually a disparity in the strength of your glutes as well in relation to that. So you just want to make sure that both sides of your bottom are nice and strong. So we're doing about 10, or till you notice fatigue. So this is my good side in terms of glutes, and I fatigue quite quickly on this side. Other side, not so much. So tiring quickly is an indication that you're probably quite weak on that side in terms of endurance, but at least you've got a brain connection. Whereas if you do lots and you don't get tired, then you might be stronger on that side in one way, but then the brain is not really talking to those muscles. So probably it's a false sense of strength. And you can usually tell by looking at your bottom, because one side might be a little bit flatter than the other side. Okay, so carefully move your chair around, or you could just turn around. You don't even need to move your chair. So you come back to standing now with the other leg. And we're just going to swing forward and back. Let the quads go, let them relax. And maybe there's a little bit of a pop of the chest going forward, so a little bit of hyperextension. And remember, I'll just stop for a minute, turn the toe towards the chair, so you're in that nice relaxed position for the standing leg. So if you put your hand on your heart, just knock my roller over. We've got cats jumping into buckets and rollers rolling around. There's all sorts going on today. So just let the heart gently push forward into the hands. Make sure the spine is comfortable. So now we're going to come into inner and outer. So I can feel straight away I'm quite tight on this side, tight in the glutes. So you'll notice all sorts of weird anomalies where something's happening on one side of the body, not on the other side. That's not necessarily a good thing. You want things to be balanced. In and out. And then the diagonal is your psoas. So just get away from the edge of my yoga block. Get my toe in. So again, if you put your hand on your heart, there's a little bit of a pop forward through the heart. Put it in the belly. Or you could put it in the spine. If you feel that your spine's working a little bit too much, just put your hand on your spine and just really modify the range. So my spine is a little bit active on this side. You could take the arm up, same arm as the leg, and you could turn towards the chair. Take a deep breath and come out of it. So just come off the block for a minute to give your standing leg a rest. Do some little knee bends. Do some ponies. So just gives that leg a break, and then come back to standing in that first position, toe turned towards the chair, and we came into knee circles. And again. So it's a really big movement of this leg, which is going to move that half of your pelvis around. So if there is any impingement there, it just helps to free it a little bit. And maybe it's not the outward movement, it's the inward movement that helps. Again, because my hip's a bit stiff today, I'm finding the inward a challenge. That's a good thing. Last one. So come off your block again and just standing, do some little knee bends, do some heels, ponies. So we just want to activate this glute on this side. So we're standing on the yoga block with the other foot on the floor. So now the pelvis is slanted this way. So this ASIS is higher than this one. And you're going to lift the outside part of the pelvis up towards the shoulder and down. Up towards the shoulder. So you can feel the pelvis rolling over this femur head. And you should feel your bottom contract as you push up and come down. Pushing up. And I can feel quite a stretch in my low back. So there's different things for different people. It depends what's going on. So it's a combination of flexibility, strength, stabilization. So I'm still not quite feeling the tiredness in the glute yet, whereas I felt it really quickly on this side. So you're just sort of trying to figure out your pathology. And again, so if you're not sure, you maybe would practice this at another time and do maybe 3 sets of 10 with a little break in between and just build up good strength in both sides. So just do your little knee bends, do your ponies. So we'll get rid of the yoga block for a minute. So still with the chair there, we're going to do a hip flexor strengthening exercise, a psoas strengthening exercise. Just bring the knee up and come back down. So that's a hip hinge. You're lifting. So maybe you're going to press the knee with the hand. So you lift up and you press. And if your balance is okay, you could do that with 2 hands. So you really feel those deep psoas muscles working on this side anyway. We'll do 10. 5 more. So you start to notice this is work. 4, 3, 2, and 1. And again, just do a double knee bend so that you can just balance out again after you've done that. You might feel a bit tight. You could just turn around again. I'll move my chair. So as if you're working with a ballet bar against the wall, you're always working the outside leg away from the wall. So this is the wall here. So you're just lifting the knee and press. Lift the knee and press. And if your balance feels good enough, you could press with both hands. Press. Press. And 4. 5. And 6. And 7. 8. 9. And 10. So if you imagine you were lying on your back and you were extending the legs and pressing into the knee, it's an abdominal exercise. It's actually a bit harder when you do this standing because gravity is working against you. So try facing the chair. Try hinging at the hip. You're going to just pull the belly into the spine. And you're just going to hinge and the head comes down towards the back of the chair. So when you do this one, you're working the hip muscles, the glutes, the legs, you're stretching your hamstrings, you're working all the little muscles in your spine as well, which is a really important part of the movement. So every little vertebra of every vertebra of your spine has little muscles and each one connects to the above and below. And as you move, they all get challenged and start talking to your brain. So a simple thing, doesn't look like much, but it's actually working everything. Your abs are working, your back muscles are working, your glutes, your leg muscles. Okay, so now come into a hinge, come into an easy squat. If you feel wobbly, you can put your hands on the chair. Lift your bottom, lower your head to the back of the chair and come back up. So hinging at the hip, lower the bottom, easy squat, lift the bottom, head to the back of the chair and come back up. So you're hinging. It's not so difficult to do this exercise, but it's a really good functional movement. Lift the bottom, bring the head up. So everything gets worked in a safe range, in a range that you can easily coordinate and stabilize. This is 6 and I'm starting to notice my powerhouse and my legs. You're hinging. So sometimes doing an easier exercise, quite a few reps, we'll do 10, is much better than doing a really hard one for a shorter period of time. And you're working well within that 65% range of what your body can handle. 8, 2 more. Hinge, easy squat. So you're strengthening all the muscles around the SI joint and the hips. Drop the head, lift the bottom. Last one, hinge at the hip. Easy squat. Lift the bottom, lower the head to the chair and come back into standing. Okay, so turn your chair towards the computer. We're just talking about stretching again and how to stretch the muscles of the pelvis and the hips and the SI joints. It's all the same thing really in terms of this exercise. So come to the side of your chair. That might be a better way of doing this one actually, or even onto the corner of the chair, and just extend one leg. And just think about your pelvis. We've covered this a few weeks ago. If you put your hand at your knee and the hand at your sit bone, if you slump, the sit bone moves towards the back of the knee, which means your hamstrings are shortening. You come into neutral position. If you arch, if you lean forward from the chest, you feel the sit bone swing back and the hamstrings lengthen. So just try that again. You slump and you tuck, so posterior tilt of your pelvis, hamstring shortens, sit bone moves forward, come back into neutral, that's upright, come into an anterior tilt where the belly button moves forward and the sit bone swings back. You feel your hamstrings lengthen. So just remembering that the anterior tilt rocking your pelvis forward rather than a posterior tilt, which is moving your belly button towards the back. The forward tilt is much more beneficial when it comes to stretching your legs. So if you take your leg out in front of you, pull your toe up, you're going to take your pelvis from a neutral pelvis, a very centered pelvis, to just tipping forward. And you'll feel your hamstrings stretch, but you shouldn't feel any tension in your back. Come back to neutral. So you're tipping forward. So I'm using my hands here to show you that you're tipping forward. If you did it the wrong way, if you were to drop your head, what you're doing is you're tucking your tailbone under, shortening your hamstrings, and then you're trying to stretch them. So as you do it with your head down and your tailbone tucked, you'll feel it in your back. So that's okay if you want to stretch your low back, but we're stretching the hamstrings. So you're going to just tilt the pelvis forward, come back to neutral, tilting forward. We'll do 6, tilting forward. Okay, so we could change legs. So all the same things apply. You pull the toe up, you're tilting the pelvis forward, feel that nice stretch in your hamstrings, come back into neutral, tilting so you don't drop the head. So you're thinking in terms of 2 landmarks, your belly button and your sit bone. Your belly button moves forward, your sit bone swings to the back. Okay, so tilting forward at the belly button. Couple more. So one of the worst things for hamstrings and for quads is sitting for a long time, so that they both become shortened and locked up and tight. So one of the things you can do to counter that is if you're sitting for a long time, you can just do an anterior tilt. So while you're at your computer doing what you're doing, you're rocking your pelvis, not so much towards the back, more forward. So from the side, that looks like just rocking forward, rocking forward. So little and often, I've just done a tutorial for this, I'll put it online, but just little and often, just rocking the pelvis. So as you're sat there doing whatever you're doing, you're on the phone, you could be just gently rocking so that each time your hamstrings are stretching a little bit, stretching to stop them going into that short and tight position. Now this one, I want you to come to the side of your chair. Take one side of your bottom off the side of the chair and just go gentle with this one, but just with the leg extended, just see if you could lift your toe up and down. So you're moving the head of the femur and the femur bone in the thigh, you're rotating it, you're twisting it to get a stretch in the hips and in the groin. So if you've got SI joint problems, you can be really locked up and tight in this area. So you do a few just to test the waters, and then bring the toe down, and then we're going to do the same as we did with the hamstrings. I'm going to come forward a bit because I'm a bit too close to the back of the chair. I'm going to rock my belly button forward and then come back into neutral. Not going into the slump, don't go into the back, just go from neutral, so neutral and then tipping forward, and neutral and tipping forward. So as you do that, you'll feel quite a stretch in the groin and around the hip. So just keep going with that. So this is a great one. I've been doing this one regularly, and when I first started, I was really locked up and tight in both hips. But because I've been doing it a little bit every day, I'm getting looser and looser. And this is going to just help to balance your pelvis, bring you into a neutral pelvis, and to also balance your back, because if your pelvis is out, if your SI joints are out, that's going to radiate tightness and stiffness into the back, into the spine. So we do about 10. So come out of that and try the other side. So different side might be a completely different story. So half of your bottom off the chair, and you can hold the chair for balance. Just start with the test. I'll just get rid of the cushion because it's in the way. You're going to lift. So for me, I'm a lot stiffer on this side. But when I first started doing this, I could barely lift my foot off the floor, my toes off the floor. So it is starting to free up in this hip. So a little and often. You're not going end of range, you're not going into pain. So think 60 to 65% range, and just use repetition, gentle repetition. over multiple days, even weeks, and gradually you can start to come out of some of this really locked up tightness that we get into when we've got an ongoing issue. So now you've figured out, you know, in a scale of 1 to 10, how tight you are in this hip. You're going to come back. I'm just going to move forward a bit on my chair because I've got the back of the chair in the way. You're going to tilt that pelvis forward, anterior tilt, come back into neutral. Tilt. So if you hold the sides of your pelvis, the bones of your pelvis, ASIS, you can orientate your pelvis with your hands, which I find really helps me. So tilting forward and come back into neutral, tilting forward, come back into neutral, tilting forward. So you're rolling the pelvis over the head of the femur on this side and just giving everything, the myofascia, a stretch in the front, in the side, in the back. Okay, so Rome wasn't built in a day, as I often say. So little and often, in a safe range, and just see how you can really start to work on some of these tight places. Last one. So the next muscle group is the piriformis in the back. So piriformis is a really big muscle. It's probably about that big, and it comes from under the sacrum and it attaches to the greater trochanter, that top part of your leg bone, and it pulls the leg and the hip backwards. It's one of 6 muscles. So think of a finger with 6 hands. They're all doing the same sort of thing, except that piriformis is the biggest and it's the one that we know about. So see if you can, sitting on the front edge of your chair, see if you could bring one foot up onto the knee. So in a good, healthy, balanced pelvis, the muscles at the back are called rotators because they rotate the pelvis, the leg to the back. In a healthy set of rotators, your knee would be down here somewhere. So for me, I'm moderately tight, and chronically tight would be up here, and maybe you can even put the foot on the knee. So if you can't put the foot on the knee, you get off the chair and you sit on the floor, or maybe a pillow or a yoga block, and you try it in a lower position. So just see if you could put your hand on your knee and see if you can handle that little bit of weight. So if you're, think of a scale of 1 to 10, if you're higher than a 6 out of 10, just be gentle, be careful, but maybe you can just gently pulse the knee. So it's a very gentle movement. So if you're a 7, 8, 9 out of 10, then don't do this, just hold this position. So you're just seeing if you could dynamically stretch the muscles at the back of the pelvis. So then the same as the hamstrings and the adductors, the inner thighs, we're going to rotate, we're going to roll, I always say rotate, wrong word, roll the belly button forward and come back into neutral spine. So if this was your pelvis is tilting forward and then it's coming back into neutral. We're not going into the slump, we're just going to tilt forward. And as you do that, you'll feel that that is the very best way to stretch your rotators. So belly button forward. Don't drop your head because that takes you into a tuck. So you just belly button forward. So don't think nose forward, think belly button forward. And just find your 60, 65% range. So we're doing 10. So little and often, the best way to do this exercise is if you do sit in the evenings and watch television, you could do maybe 10 of these and then get up and have a little walk around and come back. And then maybe later on in the evening, do another 10. So don't do too many. Don't think I'll do 50. That could be too much. Just do, 5 to 10 and then have a break, have a walk around. And then when you remember, repeat it a couple of times through the day and just see how you go. That's about 10. So now when I wiggle the knee, it's a little bit easier as well. I've got a little bit more movement there. My knee is still fairly high. So these issues don't generally just go away because if you've got an existing problem, there'll be certain triggers that activate these muscles and you could be doing them daily and, bringing yourself back again. So sitting for too long. For me, it's gardening. If I cut the lawn, everything tightens up for me. So find out what your triggers are, and then you're sort of a little bit more aware of what you need to be careful of. So different side, different story. I'm on my tighter hip. So if you look at my knee now, it's higher. It's higher than the other side. So the height of the knee is your best indication of how tight these muscles are. So ideally, you should be sort of down here somewhere, nice and parallel with the floor. If you're up here, be very careful because you're super tight. If you can't get your foot on the knee, you go to the floor, sit on a big pillow, and just find what you can do comfortably. So test the waters, see if you could put your hand on the knee. Think about, where am I in a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being perfectly okay and 10 is, you know, unbearable. And maybe you could add the little gentle pulse. So for me, I'm getting a bit more free in this knee because when I started doing this, I couldn't handle the pulse. It was just too tight. So pulse, not a bounce, because it's controlled, it's small. And you can feel the muscles at the back of the pelvis doing this, and it should feel good. If it doesn't feel good, then you need to ease up. So we're just prepping the piriformis and the rotators. So then stop the pulse, but see if you could just roll the pelvis forward. I keep wanting to say rotate. Roll the belly button forward. So for me, a lot stiffer. So I'm finding it quite hard to get that anterior tilt. It's there, but it's very small. So that's what I need to work on, is just getting that roll forward, come back into neutral, rolling forward. Make sure the lumbar sacral fascia is okay with this, that you're not feeling that tight band across the low back. It's not grippy, it's not catching you. You want to be about 65% in terms of range and also comfort as well. So if you're a 7 or 8 or a 9 out of 10, then you're working too hard. So just gently roll the pelvis forward. There's a good lot of ab work going on here as well in transversus abdominis. So belly button forward, and as the belly button moves forward, the 2 sit bones will swing slightly to the back on the seat of the chair. So you're still stretching your hamstrings and your adductors. They're still doing a little bit of work in here. So just make sure it's not jumping into your back. And that usually happens when you go too far. It's about 9. It's about 10. So then again, just see, and now I've got a lot more bounce in the knee. It's a freer hip. The rotators are a little bit more relaxed. And now I can get that bounce. And the elastic recoil in the muscle is really good. It's a good way to stretch, but just stay in that 65–60% range. Don't go to end of range where you could overstretch and hurt yourself. So gently release the leg. So the final one is the middle quads and your iliopsoas, which are muscles on the inside of so this is the big bone of the pelvis. There's a muscle that's underneath that bone that connects into the leg. So this is for this muscle. So you're going to come along the front edge of your chair, drop the half of your bottom off the front of the edge of the chair. The other leg is off the side. You could hold the back of the chair if you feel a little bit unstable. And you're going to slightly extend that leg that's on the floor. Okay, so again, think of your pelvis. You're going to roll your pelvis forward, and then you're going to come back into neutral. As you roll your belly button forward, you could slightly extend the leg. As you come into neutral, the knee bends. So you're rolling forward, you're coming into a bent knee. So you can feel the stretch at the front of the pelvis down into your quads and under the pelvis at the front. So you're just going to roll forward, slightly extend, come back into a bent knee. So the belly button moves forward. So if you think of my hands as the pelvis is rolling forward, coming back. Rolling forward, the leg extends, coming back. So just find your 60 to 65% range. We'll do 10. Make sure you're not feeling pain in the low back. So if we're hypermobile in the spine, if we're hypermobile in the SI joints, we might need to modify that range and make it even smaller. We'll still get a stretch, but we just don't want to make it too strong. If you're feeling any discomfort, that's a warning that you need to just make it smaller. So if I go too big on this side, I can feel it in the SI joint on the other side of the body. So it's causing a bit too much movement in the wrong range for me. So you just figure out by the feedback that you're getting what you need to do. So that's about 10. So just carefully bring that leg forward, change sides. So you let that half of your bottom hang off the chair. You partially extend the leg. You think about your pelvis, you're going to roll forward and come back into a bent knee. So I've actually got a lot more movement in this muscle group. So I can actually extend a little bit further. So, you know, tightness jumps from one side of the body depending on which muscle groups you're using. So the pelvis rolls forward, comes into neutral, the knee bends, the leg partially extends as you roll forward at the belly button, comes back into a bent knee in neutral, rolling forward, come back into bent knee, rolling forward, bent knee. So you can feel that tightness at the front of your pelvis. I think I've got 2 more to go. If you're keeping count, you do your 10. Might be 1 more. I think that's about it. Come back in, lovely. So turn carefully out of that, come into sitting, and we're going to just do a vagal nerve release. We're going to do one of the salamanders. So the salamanders, you point your fingers behind your ears. Think about where the line of the fingers meets. That's where your top vertebra in your neck is, coming into the skull. And you're going to bend from there, not from lower down in the neck. And you're going to take right ear to right shoulder without lifting the shoulder. And we're going to look down to the right shoulder with both eyes. So this is a fabulous exercise because it opens out C1 and C2. Improves the blood supply to the brain, decompresses the nerves into the brainstem, and also it gets rid of forward head posture. So, you know, if we've got that head is moving forward and we've got the pain in the neck because of the faulty posture, this is one of the exercises that you do to help to correct that. So I was talking all the way through that, but maybe you felt the sigh, the swallow, the yawn. It's a nice stretch for the scalenes as well. You can feel the muscles in the side of the neck on the opposite side, just getting a good stretch. So just gently come out of it. If you don't like coming out of this position, you can put your hand under your head and just gently coax it back in with the hand. So think about the line that goes from the back of the ears. You're bending from there. You've got your hands on your thighs, your shoulders are down. You're bending from the top of your spine, level with your ears, left ear to left shoulder, and you're looking down with both eyes to your left shoulder. So you can feel the scalene stretching on the opposite side. So scalenes are one of the most, the biggest culprits for a whole load of problems, but they're relatively invisible. A lot of people don't even think about the scalenes, but usually they're at the top of the hit list for a whole array of problems. So if you've got a tight neck, just keep an eye on the muscles in the sides of your neck. There's my nice deep breath. And then stay a little bit longer. So to come out of it, you put your hand under your head, you gently coax the head back up again. Okay, just roll the shoulders. So then we've done C1 and C2. Now we're going to do C3, 4, and 5. So the vertebra here, you're going to just drop your shoulders, you're going to turn your head to the right and just go as far to the right as you can to where it's a little bit uncomfortable. It's not painful, but it's a little bit uncomfortable. So this is going to stretch your sternocleidomastoid, the muscles at the front of your neck, and your trapezius, and it's going to really stretch the 3, 4, and 5 vertebra of the neck. So now we've done 1 through to 5. So holding for about 30 seconds. And again, you might get a swallow, a yawn, a sigh. So we've got 12 nerves that we're stretching, not just one. They're called the vagal nerve, but really it's a collection of nerves. And then gently come back into center. Just do a few shrugs. Someone's turning around in my driveway. So just cover the face, do a few shrugs. And just release your neck after that. It always feels strange when you go very strongly just to one side. So drop your shoulders, turn the nose to the other side. You might already notice that one side is a little bit easier than the other. So the general rule with neck turning is if you turn your head or take your ear to your shoulder and the pain is on the same side, it's your levator scapulae, the muscle that's at the back of the shoulder blade connecting up into the neck. If it's the opposite side, then it's going to be your trapezius, maybe your scalenes. So we're just holding for 30 seconds. So I can definitely feel my trapezius on this side. As I turn to the left, I can feel the trapezius right down into the top of the right shoulder, pretty tight. So just imagine the vertebra in your neck just getting a nice stretch and the discs in between them. So it's really important to move the neck, not keep it very still, because that just restricts the movement over time. And it doesn't keep the discs of the vertebra in between the vertebra hydrated. So gently come out of that and just see how your neck feels. Just do a few shoulder rolls. Turn your head until it starts to free. And even if you feel a bit tight in your neck, you should already notice that you've got a little bit more range. So that's something to do once or twice a week, if not once a day. Come forward on your chair, have your feet on the floor. You're going to hold your face, bring your elbows together and pull them into your chest. So you're trying to not move your neck or your head or your arms. And you're just going to turn to the left, we'll say the left, and we're going to do 10 to the left. So again, this is a thoracic release. So this is Feldenkrais. It's getting into serratus, it's getting into trapezius. It's stretching your thoracic spine. You're trying not to be moving independently with the head and the neck. That's why you're holding your head. And if you keep pulling your elbows in, you're stretching trapezius. So this is about 7 and 8. Keep an eye on the time. And 9 and 10. Come into center. So elbows together, pull them into your chest and do 10 to the right. I'm a lot tighter on the right, I've just noticed. And this is the side I always get a little click where one of my vertebrae just gets adjusted and pushed back into its correct place, which feels good afterwards. Saves going to the chiropractor and paying $100. You can do it yourself. 7, 8, so it's really feeling lovely to stretch these tight muscles. 9, one more. 10, come back into center. So coming into the Cossack, grow really tall and spiral up and around. And come back down into center, spiral up and around. So it's quite nice just to go from one side to the other, just to restore balance. Try not to lead too much with the head and the neck. Keep the nose sort of in line with your breastbone. And try and make the movement come from the rib cage and the vertebra in the rib cage. Use your in-breath, breathing out. Take the deepest breath in that you can. Breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, and drop those hands. So we've given the shoulder girdle a really nice release, series of releases. So we'll come off the chair, we'll come onto the floor. I'll leave that as it is. So grab your roller. We'll just do a little bit more for the neck with the roller. So we're going to just bring the roller in line with the middle of our back. So you've got two choices, the bottom of your shoulder blades if you're very flexible, or right in the middle of your shoulder blades if you're not that flexible. Link your fingers, hands behind your head with your elbows forward, and you're just gently going to look at the ceiling. So you bring your elbows together, you create a little cage with your arms, and then breathe out, pull the belly in deeply as you come up. So you don't want to have to use your neck muscles to come up. So you're going to really breathe out and deeply imprint your abs. So you breathe in as you go over the roller. Breathe out, contract your abs. Now if your neck's okay with more movement, you could breathe in and open the elbows. So you're stretching your chest muscles and breathing out and closing your elbows, but try not to pull on your neck. So you're breathing in to open. So remember the 65% range rule. Don't go too strong. Don't let the bones in your neck move. So your chin is in a tucked position, retracted, and you're not actually moving the bones of your neck at all. It's the bones between your shoulder blades that are moving, or just below the shoulder blades, depending on where the roller is. Breathing out. One more. Breathing in. Breathing out. So by working on your thoracic spine, it's going to really help your neck. So I want you now just to come out of that and just come forward and just drop your head and just let the thoracic spine come into a flex position until you start to feel a little bit more relaxed. And slowly, gently come back up. So I'm going to move the pillow away. Grab your roller. Make sure that you've got plenty of room either side of your roller, that it's not going to get it's not going to bash into the coffee table or something. And be aware that if you're on the edge of your mat, that it actually makes it a little bit harder to come up over the edge of the mat. So start with the feet on the roller at hip space, hands under the knees, and you're going to do a little bit of a roll back, pull the belly into the spine, and come back in. So you could breathe out as you roll away. Breathe in as you come in. Feet on the roller means you can't use your quads and your hip flexors quite so much. So it makes it a little bit harder. If it's too hard, you put your feet on the floor and forget about the roller for a minute. So we'll do two more. Breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. Just kick the legs forward. And remember what we said about hamstring stretches. You're not dropping your head. You're letting your belly button move forward and your sit bones pull back so that you increase the length of your hamstrings. You might not be able to reach the toes. That depends on your leg length. If you've got short legs like me, it's easy. If you've got long legs, not so much. So you're just looking high off into the distance. Belly button is forward, and just feel those sit bones pushing away from the roller. Just find a stretch that feels good in your hamstrings, and then gently come out of it. So you're going to come back into bent knees, and this time we're not going to go too far out, but we're going to breathe out. We're going to roll the roller out a little bit, and we're going to breathe in, and we're going to come back in. So this is really going to work our psoas, that deep muscle at the front of our spine. So it's an abdominal muscle, but it's right at the back of the abdomen. You're breathing out, you're breathing in, you're breathing out. So doing this with the roller is actually easier than doing it on the floor without the roller. Just find your range. Really pull your belly into your spine. You don't want to feel this. If you feel achy in the back, just means it's time to have a little rest. You should feel achy in your abs, but not in your back. Last one, and then come back in and then kick the legs out. Let your belly button swing forward and just come into that hamstring stretch again. Take a breath, gently come back in. So I want you now to just make sure you've got mat behind you. I want you to slowly roll towards the floor. So put the head on the floor and I want you to float. I'm going to float my left leg because it's further away from the camera.
So I want you to have a nice level pelvis. So you've got a little bit of a hollow in the small of the back. Float your left leg, and you're going to breathe in and you're going to extend your right leg on the roller. And you're going to breathe out and you're going to tighten your abs as you come back in. So you're breathing in to stretch your psoas. We've just worked it, so now we're stretching it. And then breathe out, use your abdominal muscles to bring the roller in again. So you're breathing in, stretch. Breathing out, tighten your abs. One more, breathing in, stretch, stretch, stretch. Breathing out, and then just leave the roller where it is and just hug your knees and give yourself a little stretch. So you're working your abdominal muscles in 2 different ways in this exercise. So it's quite a deep ab workout. So take your right foot to the roller and float your left knee. Oh, sorry, other way around. Right knee floats, left foot on the roller, a little bit of a space in the small of the back, level pelvis, and you're going to breathe in as you slide the left leg out. Breathe out, contract your abs to come back in. So I can already feel it's a little bit harder for me on this side. You're breathing in to extend, still got a bit of a space in the back. You're breathing out, contract your abs to come back in. You're breathing in to extend. Breathe out, contract. We're doing 4. Breathing in, extend. Breathing out, contract, come back in. Hug your knees, give yourself a little rest in between each set. Maybe bring your head into your knees and just give yourself a good stretch. Take a breath. Slowly, gently down. So put the feet on the roller again, nice level pelvis. Float the left leg. And this time you're going to breathe in and extend the left leg. Breathe out, contract your abs as you bring the left leg in. So what is this doing? You're not really able to use the leg that's on the roller. It's on something that's moving and you can't really push down. So that means your abs have to work a bit harder as you breathe in, extend. Breathe out, tighten your abs as you come back in. So you're breathing in to extend. Breathe out, tighten your abs. So you've got an eccentric contraction of your abs as you extend. You've got a concentric contraction of your abs as you come back in. So just put the foot on the roller and float the right knee. So again, breathe in as you extend, right leg. Breathe out, contract your abs as you come back in. So you're using your psoas as you go out. You're using your transversus abdominis as you come back in. So you're breathing in, extend, breathe out, contract. One more, breathing in, extend, breathing out, contract, and bring both knees in and just give yourself a squeeze, shorten those abs, bring your head into your knees, stretch your spine, take a breath, and then slowly, gently down. So take the feet to hip space on the roller. We're going to float the left leg again. So this time, you're going to have that little space in the small of the back. You're going to breathe in and you're going to extend your left leg and your right arm. And you're going to breathe out, contract your abs to come back in. Do that 3 more times. Breathing in, extend. Breathing out, really pull the belly into the spine as you come back in. Breathing in to extend. Breathing out. Breathing in, extending. Breathing out. And just hug that one knee and push the roller out and just bring yourself into a little bit of a hip flexor stretch. Bring your head into center. Look down the straight leg. You could lift your elbows a little bit, pull the belly in. Take a breath. Slowly, gently down through the head. Bring the roller back in. Feet hip space. Nice level pelvis. Float the right leg. So you're going to breathe in, extend the right leg and float the left arm, opposite side. Breathe out, tighten the abs to come back in. Breathing in to extend. Breathe out, tighten the abs, pull the belly into the spine. 2 more, breathing in, breathing out. 1 more, breathing in, breathing out. And then you're going to hug the right knee and you're going to push the left leg out on the roller, bring your head into center, lift your elbows, really stretch out through the straight leg, pull the belly in, take a deep breath. Slowly, gently down. So there's 1 more to add into this. You're going to have both feet hip space on the roller. You're going to float the left leg and you're going to extend the left leg and you're going to float both arms. So you're going to breathe in and you're going to breathe out and circle the arms back. So you're breathing in, extend, breathe out, strong abs, circle and return. Breathing in to stretch. Breathing out. Maybe you float your head for the last one. Breathing in, breathing out. Hug the knee, hip flexor stretch, just really quickly and slowly come back down. So feet hip space, float the right leg. So you're going to breathe in, extend the right leg, float both arms. Breathe out, strong abs, circle and return. Breathing in, you could float your head if you want to work a little bit harder in the upper abs. Breathing in, breathing out. So you can't really use the leg that's on the roller. So that means your abs are working just slightly harder. Last one, breathing in, breathing out, and just quick hip flexor stretch. Head into center and slowly, gently down. So take the roller. Bring the roller under the head. We're just using the roller to support the head and the neck for the minute. Nice level pelvis, and we're going to float the knees 1 and 2. So we can feel the powerhouse. We can feel we've worked really hard, very deeply into those deep abs. So now just do a single leg stretch down the midline and come back in. Single leg stretch. So we don't need to work at holding the head up. Extend. You could play it with going a little bit lower if your back feels comfortable, feels strong. So the lowest you would go to would be level with your pelvis, and then you could start to come higher again. You could hold the knee higher. Last one, and hug your shins and just give yourself a little squeeze. So we'll finish with the neck. We'll take the feet to the floor and we're just going to roll, have the feet at the width of the mat, roll the head to the right, roll the knees to the right. So we're still working on the hips and the SI joints. Come back through center, roll the other way. Come back through center, so you're rolling. So maybe you want to hold the roller so it stays where it should do. And just feel the spiral line. So you're just rolling. And again. So we'll go over, I'll go over to the left side, and now you're just going to bounce that right knee. And just breathe. We'll just do about 20 seconds. So it feels a little bit different when the head is on the roller. But I can feel my chest muscles stretching because I'm holding the ends of the roller. So that's bringing the connection through the kinetic chains into the chest. So slowly coming up and over, nose to the right, knees to the right, and now you're bouncing your left knee. So just a nice big uncontrolled bounce. Take some deep breaths so you feel the chest connection. So where you feel the chest muscle stretching, that's your spiral line as it wraps around the ribs. And then gently bring the knees back into center. So now just tuck the roller into the back of the neck and just go from right to left and just find the perfect amount of pressure into the back of the neck and the skull, the base of the skull. So if you're looking at the ceiling, you're going to feel the skull. If you drop your chin, you're going to feel the big muscles at the back of your neck. So you could try a little bit of both. So I can guarantee that all those muscles are going to need to be relaxed. So looking at the ceiling is your suboccipitals. Dropping your chin, your capitis muscles in the back of the neck. So we'll come over to the right side. Try and feel the pressure behind your right ear and just gently nodding the nose up and down, side to side, circles. So this is your sternocleidomastoid, where that muscle group attaches to the back of the ear. So up and down, side to side, big circles. You can do the circles in both directions. And if you drop your chin, you'll feel it into the capitis muscles again. Yeah, slightly on the outer border. So then come all the way over to the left side, find that bony process behind the ear, and you're going up and down with your nose, side to side, circles, up and down, side to side, circles. The more you drop your chin, the more you get into those capitis muscles. So just go from right to left, right to left. Nice broad strokes. And then I think we've just got time. Yes, we have. Just come up into sitting. It's a shame to use your roller and not do this release because it's such a lovely release. You're going to just put your shoulder blades on the roller. You're going to hold the back of your head so your neck is supported. Bring your elbows forward. Have your feet at hip space, not too far out from your body. Lift your bottom, and you're just going to roll to sort of the top third of your shoulder blades. You're not going anywhere near the neck. And then you're rolling down about 2/3 of your rib cage. So don't go to the bottom of the ribs. So you're rolling up towards the back of your shoulders, stay off the neck, rolling down about 2/3 of the way down. You know when to stop because it just starts to feel a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit unsafe if you go too low. So you're rolling down to where the ribs feel strong enough. When you start to get to those weaker ribs, you can tell the difference. It just doesn't feel so nice. It just feels a little bit iffy. So try breathing out as the roller moves up the ribs and breathe in as the roller moves up. So you're breathing out as the roller moves down, breathing in as you roll up. 2 more, breathing out, breathing in, last time, breathing out. So this time, as you roll to the back of your shoulders, hold your head and neck, just lift your bottom towards the ceiling and let your head drop. And then drop your bottom and lift your head. So you're like a seesaw. You lift your bottom, you drop your head, you're using your legs, they're strong, they can do this easily. You're dropping your bottom to touch the floor. You lift your bottom, you drop your head, you lift your head, you drop your bottom. 1 more, lift the bottom, drop the head, lift the head, drop the bottom. Put the bottom on the floor, roll the roller down the ribs, down towards the bottom of your shoulder blades so that you can lift your feet, come up into sitting. Just bring your feet together, drop your head forward and just give yourself a moment. You can move your nose, just make sure the neck feels okay. Then slowly coming up, and that was SI joints and neck. It was a strange one today.